Hello and welcome to Stampscapes Friday Night Live. I'm closing in on the finish line on this piece. I don't know. I'm really not quite sure how much I'm going to be applying to this, especially in this foreground area down here. All right, so the last live session I did, I really applied a lot of the acrylic paint pen work across what's really the focal point of the scene, unless we think the focal point is the sky and the paper itself, which is, could easily be said. But I was really anxious to get this kind of modeling down of all of the different forms within the autumn foliage. All right. So I was looking at this today, and I think we really need to bring some of this green, or at least some of these colors, down into this area. Okay. Otherwise, it looks kind of like an unrelated area. This could be of a higher elevation, but just bringing some of those colors into here. So what I've done is I've stamped out some of the maple pear foliage right into these rocks. I didn't stamp the trunks of them down there, so it just reads as foliage. Okay, where this is relative to this area down here, I have yet to determine, and that'll be determined by what foliage we put up here. So I'm thinking about putting some extra trees or something like that in here. Maybe the leafless limb, like I was saying at the end of the last live stream. But I'm not really sure yet, okay? But I was thinking about this thing right here would look really good in here, okay? But I was thinking, I might want something smaller in here than something like this. But this, we have a big area down in here, which can get broken up by, like a deer sitting right here, because our eyes would go right to this, and there wouldn't be this huge area in here. But I thought this little kayaker might be, I don't know. I think there might be, I think this would be serene too, but I think this would, I don't know, there's different strategies here. We can have this little figure here, and it would be a really dominant focal point of the scene, visual landing spot. The kayaker kind of would, but they're kind of farther in the back, and things that I'm stamping up on top of this paper don't seem to be stamping out like even like a black. It doesn't seem to be stamping like real super dark black. So it would push back in the distance, and I think it would become a little bit more kind of incorporated with the scene. So I don't know. I might want that. But let's just see how this goes in here. But with this foreground element. So just one step at a time. Hello, Diana, Phyllis. Hello, Linda, Patty, Annie, Ginger. Good to see you all. Hope you had a nice week. I'm enjoying working on this paper right here. It's been a learning experience. I don't know. These different papers, I guess it's just the sealants, that I'm kind of tinkering around with these last, I don't know, whatever, 2 weeks worth, week and a half of videos. So I've laid down these trees down here, and my choice was to do them in either the Brilliance black or the Stays-On black, okay? And I did it in Stays-On because it would dry really fast, and I just laid a layer of sealant down over the top of it so that I can use the alcohol markers on top of it. And I don't know, that was all my only reason. I was thinking I might be able to get a darker impression with the Brilliance, though, just because it's thicker. But, I just did that like 5 minutes ago, so I just figured I can work these colors onto these elements instantly, thus the Stays-On, okay? So let's give it a try. So the liquid spray fixative seems to be doing just fine right over the tops of these trees. Okay, I don't see them going back into solution, which is good. I didn't give it a real thick coating. And also what I did, I spray sealed like this. I put this right over here. I didn't put it right down next to the page because if you spray seal it, you might get this visible line. So what you do is you hold this, you know, 3-4 inches above it like this, and then you just spray seal at an angle going over this like this. So some spray sealant can get underneath there so you don't get this real definitive line like that. Okay, and I wasn't going to cut out a mask or something like that and put it over that, you know what I mean? That's, to me, would be a little bit overkill, unless you're really trying to protect this area in here. But the thing is, when I went outside, too, and did that, it occurred to me that, you know, with really a lot of, like, even brighter light than what's in my studio right here, they see this line right here? These lines, you know, the patterning of the holographic, that showed right through this. So under much brighter lighting in here, that looks like it ends right there. So I thought I did a pretty good blocking out of it, you know, with it. But you can in much brighter light, you can still see that pattern. I mean, you can still see it going across here a little bit, but under super bright sunlight, it's still there. I think that's a good thing, though, because it tells me that this paper, this mirrored, you know, holographic paper, is going to be pretty influential as far as the reflective light that's coming off of these areas. See that little, you see that little area down there? You see that little rainbow of it? So that color is still showing through a little bit. Like, you can see this whole band across there. All right, but when I look at it like this, you know what I mean? It's not real obvious, so I don't know. It's like one of those extra little things that could be revealed under different lighting, you know, situations. So it's just, I don't know, something, I don't know. It's not really hidden, but I don't know, kind of different for somebody that has this piece, and you know, it it just might look a little bit different in different lighting, you know, no matter, I don't know, how many times they look at it, it might be kind of revealing something a little bit different than before. I don't know, it's something, it's like a mood scene or something like that. It doesn't change with the heat of our hands or anything like that, but kind of the angle of the piece, you know, it's a little bit different, so. There are those papers out there. I don't know how many are available out there, but there used to be, like I have these CD or a CD box set, and it changed depending on the heat of your hand on it. It was heat reactive. So that type of papers, I don't know. I don't know if it's available anymore. This was like, you know, 25 years ago. But that type of thermal, you know, type of paper, I mean, it's just, you know, it's some sort of printer's surface. You know, it was on board or something like that. But that being said, you know, maybe there's something like that out there in the, you know, crafting industry. It'd be more of the paper industry. But those types of kind of boutique styles of paper are less, I don't know, they're less widespread now. You know, just because the printing industry isn't, you know, as big as it used to be. Publishing, printing, all that type of stuff. There's just less hard copy things going around, so. It'd be kind of cool, huh? Mood scenes or something like mood cards, you know, where people can, you know, they pick up a card and they're handling it, you know, and it's, you know, the colors are kind of, you know, revealing themselves with the whatever temperature their hand is or wherever they touch it. So we need to find some of that stuff. Patty, I think there's a link to it off of the quick answer is Amazon. The specific paper, I think on step 1, I think I don't know if I put a link to it in the I haven't formatted all these videos as far as the information on them, but I did do a scene I don't have it right now because someone purchased it, but I have a link to it in the... What did I stamp on it the other day? It was... Oh, wait. It was the baby sea turtles and the Seaside Cove. There was a... Did I do it in the live stream? I don't even remember if I did it in the live stream or not. But what I don't know, the videos, I don't know, sometime like, I don't know when it was. I think it was this week. But there's a link in the description. I think I just called it holographic cardstock. And it was the gold one, though. Okay, there's two different colors. I think one of them was the red or something like that, and one of them's gold. And this is out of the gold multicolor pack, though. It's really fun stuff, that's for sure. Okay, so I've added those tones down in these trees, okay? And I haven't been talking about it too much, but I laid down kind of a lighter green in here. It was kind of a medium tone green, okay? But then I added the darker green in the shadow areas within these trees, okay? But it was a little bit too much. It's kind of a hard edge application of that green because it's quite a bit darker than the previous green. But then what I do is I go back in with another light green or the previous green, and then you kind of blend those in a little bit, okay? It's not blended in terms of being super smooth, but it's just kind of more of that watercolory look that alcohol inks on, you know, less porous types of papers, glossy cardstocks, or these types of foils can provide, or maybe doing it on like a Yupo paper or something like that. It gives you that kind of, you know, that watercolory looking finish. Okay, so let's see here. I'll show you what I did on these trees in the background here. So down here, I probably overworked a lot of my applications of you know, these types of paint pens. It's because it's kind of fun to add these dots into the scene anyway. But I'm going to add a range of greens in here to try and convey depth within the form. So I can see where it's lighter, and then the shadows are a little bit darker, and then lighter and then darker. So I'm going to reiterate that with the pens. So this is a foundation with the alcohol inks. If it was on matte cards, you know, whatever type cardstocks you could have had a foundation with, dye-based inks or alcohol inks or both, you know. Dye-based inks aren't going to work on this type of foil at all, so we can pretty much leave that out. But I'm adding some texturing with this darker color, kind of roughly in the, you know, the medium darker areas. Okay, like that. See, you can't really see it too much, but that's what I want. I don't want it too prominent. Okay, so it's just kind of merging in with the it's merging in with the values in the background because I'm putting like a, I don't know, medium dark green over medium dark green area on the image, the impression, okay? So like that. So it looks like this, the thing that I'm doing, okay? So I'm kind of clustering it in the shadows, and then as it moves out into the lighter area, what you do is you have it a little bit spaced out like that, so it's dense to thin like that, okay? And the thin area is in the lighter areas in this case. Now, you know, it's not everywhere on there, okay? You know what I mean? It's like, oh my god, I put a dot, you know, in the lighter area that should have been lighter. It's not like that, you know. It's just kind of a loose kind of description of where these are, you know, those dots are added. And you can see it right there where I've added it down here. You can see it's all, you know what I mean? It's not carefully applied or anything like that. See this dark area right here in the shadows, you can see a little bit of where those are added. You see, like on the top sides of the trees in this case, But, you know, the top sides of the trees, sometimes they're the darker areas. You just have to look on the design, okay? But just check it out visually. Now, see, like this, with a lot of light on it, you can really see those dots where they've been applied. When I go like this, it's light on dark. When I go like this, it's dark on light. You know what I mean? So it's not, don't, you know what I mean? Don't get like freaked out in terms of like where you're adding stuff. Because on this paper right here, you know, the patterning on here, we're going from like absolutely light to absolutely dark, but then you go like this, you know, like that. Now see that now the light is in the dark area right there. So it changes. So I'm not sticking to, you know, some rule hard and fast. And you see it's like, now this green really stands out like that down there, okay? Because you're working on a change in surface. You're working on something that's like absolutely dark in one area in one instance, and then it's absolutely, you know, as light as it can be in the other area, because it's not just white here. That's like light reflecting back at us, so it's like really light, okay? And I'm saying this because, you know, when I start adding these highlights down here, or these colors into these trees and foliage, it looks a little bit weird. I mean, you know, like it even looks weird to me when I'm doing it sometimes. Um, but I just know what it'll look like in the end. So, you know, when I'm doing this, it's not like, oh my God, you know, what in the world am I doing? You know, or this, you know, this is like a mess. You know what I mean? You know, you don't want to say that type of thing too much. You know, sometimes, you know what I mean. For me, yeah, you know, I'm working on stuff and I run into a mess sometime. But it's like, you know, I know how to clean up messes. You know, it's usually with you know, white pigment ink or something like that. So, you know, um, but you don't want to do that to where it gets you to stop working on something and, you know, kind of seeing it through, because that's the thing that, you know, kind of resolves, or, you know, that's the thing that develops our solutions to, you know, these certain types of visuals that are developing, you know, during the process. So, and especially if you're doing it like a new thing too, like that stuff for me is a little bit new, you know what I mean? So it's a little bit, oh, it's jarring, you know, seeing some of this like that, like up in here, like if I go like that, it's like, I don't know, it's like hardcore, you know, paint pen work that's almost like overworked. But then like that, I mean, to me it looks okay with all that light coming. Like this, like when I first started adding those dots down there, and it looked like this down here is like, that's like glow in the dark. We need to get like a black light, you know, on this one and see if it, you know, see how it looks. All right. Where? I'm looking for where are my green, my lime green pen? I thought I was using one like last night. This is like yellow here. That's not the, don't I have like a light green paint pen? Oh, here we go. Okay, so something like this, you know, these tones right here. I'll bring it down into these trees and just kind of mellow it out, you know what I mean? Because right now, it's like, I don't know, it's like neon day glow, glow in the dark. I don't know if it looks like a bush or it looks like a radioactive slug. It's good for our Halloween scene. We need to remember the, you know, all we need is like a gigantic eyeball or one of those googly eyes. If we put it like down there, it could be, this could be like a slug. Oh, let's see. Did I say hello to everyone? Did I get you, Patty, Annie, Ginger? Yeah, I think I made it down there. Bugs. Bugs and I, we did this marathon stamping session last night. We were up till 7 a.m. No, we're talking about that though. Google heat sensitive paper. That's out there then, huh? What is it? Is it some sort of like printer paper? Or is it like offset printing or something of that sort? Hello, Froggy Fresh. Rhonda, good to see you. Are you ready? Yeah, we've heard about that. I looked on the weather report. So in Southern California, I don't know how far up the coast here, but like my mom in Central California isn't expecting like very much rain at all. But like San Diego is like, what the heck? And it's like 1 3/4 inch. A lot more in some areas if it's like next to the mountains. Like over the course of like 24 hours. No, that's not like nothing compared to like a hurricane in like Florida or something. You know what I mean? But I don't know. You don't get the too many warnings, but they said it's most likely going to get downgraded to tropical storm. But you know what I mean? Southern California, we're not getting too much of that, especially um, something like that in August. The thing that kind of got me was we're expecting that type of rain over maybe on Sunday here. Um, and it seems like it's all within 24 hours. But the weather temperature, and I've checked on different sites, it's predicted to be 1 3/4 inches of rain, a lot more in some areas. But the temperature says 85. Now, I don't remember something like that. I don't know about ever, but yeah. Just none of that comes to mind. Those types of conditions, and again, like this time of year. So, okay. So, anyways, adding that foliage down there like that. I didn't block it out at all, so you get a lot of that color, just that patterning showing right through, like right there. You know what I mean? It just goes straight through it. Where up here, these are more opaque. So. I don't know, maybe I'll add in some more paint pen or something like that in here. All right, maybe maybe these foreground bushes should just be a little bit more reflective. Surf those 70-foot waves, I'm telling you. So I used to surf, and it was really good when I don't like surfing I never liked surfing like gigantic waves, but I'd always kind of try to pick out an area that I can go to that can handle those types of waves, but it'd be more of like a mellow wave. But the problem is, I stopped going surfing for a while. It was really when I started doing Stampscapes, I started it, and I just didn't have time anymore. So I wouldn't get out very often. So I think I didn't get used to the water, and every time I'd go out, I'd get sick. It's just too high of a bacteria count. I'd get ear infections and things like that. Like almost every time you'd come back, and I don't know, I'd end up being sick like, in a couple days. Like literally every time. And not everyone that's going out, is getting sick, but I just didn't go out. I just hadn't been going out on a regular basis for a while. And it's just like, I don't know, whatever, the immunity system to, pollution wasn't as strong anymore. Couldn't fight off that whatever's out there in the water. I don't know, I don't even want to say. It gross people out. But I've read the reports of things that they've found out there, whatever, parts per million or whatever it is. Okay, so adding in these little things down here. So those are getting a little bit more prominent like that. it's totally a different texture than everything that's going on in these rocks, so I'll need to incorporate those rocks into it. This area in here is going to get a lot of foreground foliage over the front of it too, okay? So that'll push these objects back in terms of distance. You know, if you put like a branch over it like this, you're pushing that back into, you know, in space, they call it, from visuals perspective, okay? Still going to be two-dimensional. It's, you know, still as closest to us as anything, but it'll just be another layer in there. So I need to add in some other textures in here. I started to do that last night, but it was like standing out too much. It was like too, I don't know, just like that little bit of white right there on that rock. You know, it's really abrupt, so I was running into some kind of design, oh, I don't know, whatever issues that I didn't know how to handle yet at the, you know, at this point in time, that I hope I would kind of figure out in this live stream. There's a lot of times, you know, in these like Stampscapes lab things where I really don't know what it's going to turn out to be, but I'm kind of a little bit more, you know, there's various degrees of which I'm in control of the process, you know, because I know what I can do, and usually I get, you know, I can bail out of certain things that, you know, if it goes kind of haywire in a certain area, and like I get, you know, the highlights and things like that, and the white paint, you know, opaque ink, and layering something over the top of it. But this one's, I'm a little bit in less control of it than a lot of other things. A lot of it was this area down here and just making impressions on this. Like these right down here, I got a really light impression of these maple pear tops right over here. But then on this one right here, you know, it was the same ink and everything like that, you know, that I stamped like whatever 15 seconds later. But like half of this came out really dark, which I kind of wanted. I wanted a really bold impression, but like the other half of the image was like, I don't know, 50% lighter. So I'm not even in control of image impression, whatever, darkness, you know, stamping with the black ink, you know. So it's like I don't know what I'm going to get with a lot of the different things, you know, elements on here. From the most basic thing of just, you know, impression, whatever, quality, I guess. So it's like if I'm getting a really light impression of something, then I'm just, like if I do that kayak or something like that, if I get a really dark impression, that would be fine. You know, I can put a little bit of mist over it or something like that if it stands out too much. But if it stands out really light, then I'm just going to have to go with it. And, you know, it'll look like it's, you know, the kayaker's farther back in the distance, or it's like a bunch of mist or something like that down there. Hello, Cynthia. Rhonda, good to see you. What tree stamp did you use on those trees in the background? Wait a minute. Did you use on the trees in the background? Okay. Oh, so Autumn Bank left and Autumn Brook. Autumn Bank left is right here and right here. Okay, and this is Autumn Brook right here. Let's see. Let's put that out right now. Yeah, let's put that out there so people can just kind of get a reference to kind of what's going on within the scene right here. Okay. If you're talking about those ones, right? Well, yeah. Well, those ones are the ones in the background. So can you see them right there? They're almost kind of, you see, okay, so one of the things that I was talking about in the live stream last night, I think it was just bugs in myself. You know? It was like after midnight. Okay, so see these white trunks in here. All right. This whole area in here looks like a big blob. All right, of greens. I used like so many green alkalings, and then you can see just how many dots are in there. It's really layered a lot. Because I don't do that much normally, but this paper is like super super loud. So we need to do something on the imagery, in my opinion, to kind of I wouldn't say compete with it, but to harmonize with it a little bit. All right, and so I'm laying down a lot of media just to see what it would look like and see if it would work and whatever. And there's a lot of like just I don't know what the word would be, like amorphic looking areas in here of just dots everywhere, multicolored dots. Okay, but what you do is you take your white pen, and there's tree trunks in here, okay, and I already have them illuminated on one side, but sometimes they're just like the trunk, okay? If you can see those still, and I could see some a little bit, but you can see how much media was down here. So a lot of it was I was just making up. But you take your white pen, just imagine this is white, and then what you're doing is you're kind of doing a little streak like this up into the trees. Don't worry if you're just kind of, you're adding more trunk than what was on here, but all of those little white things like that, when you're adding a lot of media into this image, that is the thing that will absolutely define this whole area right in here. It's all these little white things, okay? So in other words, you can get pretty sloppy with your applications of color in here, okay? Which this did, but these little things in here, all these little, I added like a ton more because it was like, okay, that was really helping it out, okay? If you add these in here, and then one of the things I kept forgetting was add it down here into the reflections. So I go like this up here, and then I add another one down here. And I'm always kind of changing this in the direction of my mark. Okay, so I don't know where that white paint pen went, but my desk is getting really cluttered from this piece too, from all the stuff that I've been using. I'll find it here because I need to get to that anyway. But that's the thing that's going on. Now see around here, this area's out here, so you don't see like reflections down here, but all these ones over here, I can add another one, like a trunk in here somewhere too. But and then you add these little trunks, and then you do these little branches coming out from them. I don't know, I don't have a ton in there, but right now I'll add a few more in there. Okay, oh, so this is probably my white. Well, actually, let's do this while I'm talking about it, because this is really important. Okay, so like I said, so this area in here, like it was just all dark in there. You can see that darkness going across in there. So this is just going in. And then see, on some of these little lines, you kind of make it a little bit lighter, you know? It's just like this, just so it kind of varies the lighting that's on some of these branches right here. And you just kind of go out from the trunk like this, okay? And it gives a little bit more structure to the trees that's lost in that, or can be lost in the coloring process. You know, you add that nice shimmer and variation into your trees, but you know, when you're doing that, it's, you know, we can't avoid not coloring in like a, you know, a 32nd of an inch little white line in there, but you just go back in and just reclaim it, you know, with this pen here, this like that. All right, and then like I said, I've added a little bit more white to this one. Let's go and maybe add that down here like this. Don't worry, you know what I mean? It's like, Oh my god, I was, I just did that. I'm off, a 16th of an inch or something like that. Don't worry about that type of thing. All right, so you can see that right in there. Look at that, I mean, this line right here is a little bit too much, but so get as nuts as you want with the coloring and highlighting work in there, and all's well with the paint pen afterwards. There, that looks like that's even better. I don't know, I'm probably adding a little bit too much, but if you do, you just go back over some of these areas with that same pen, like right here, that that's a little bit too much, so you just go and I don't know, whatever color is in there, just take your green and break up that one line a little bit like that with more of your paint pen or something like that. So that's what I usually do. I usually go with a little bit of paint pen over that, but I don't know, I don't think I need too much in here. So like that. This can be said for anything. I do this a lot on the like the quaking aspen tree. To like this one right here. Okay, see there's a line. I don't know if you can see it. There's a hint of a line going up here, this trunk like that. And then I've added branches over it. So if you're adding like a bunch of, golden hue like in here, take your white pen. See how this is like lighter on one side of the trunk, and you just go like this, and you'll just go like this, okay? Right up that edge, or kind of break it up, put a little line right there, line, dot, 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 or line, or something like that, and you can do it the same way, and then do your branches coming out like from that, and then go back in and add a few more yellow leaves right on top of that. So that's how I handle autumn imagery, okay? I don't know if I always did it, but whenever I started doing that with the white paint pen, it was like, oh, that's never coming out of the process for me. Anytime I do those ones. It just makes that whole area alive like that. Now blabbing about it all like that, it's like that's probably like all you guys can see now is like the what all you guys are looking at is the white trunks. It's like what holographic paper? Oh yeah, that's right. You use the holographic paper, huh? Let's see. Froggy Fresh, you got another. How many kittens do you have? Or maybe you got another dog recently too, right? Wasn't it? Hello, Genie. Let me see. We named him Dave. Let's see. You should have named your kitten Kevin. No, name him. What about Stampscapes though? Dave Stampscapes Fresh. Let's see. I was reading Patty's comment there. Let's see. Parakeets. I remember parakeets because that takes me back to our or maybe I saw your parakeets on the photos on Facebook there. All right, so let's see here. I really need to address this rocky area right in here, it's like completely a different textural pattern. So we need to get some of this texture in here. I'm really kind of playing it very conservative here because I'm putting these dots down with this brown pen. Let me see if you can see it at all. Okay, I don't know if I can show you. It's like not even showing up in the reflective area right here. I'm applying this brown like into this area. Again, it's kind of invisible. You can see where I got a big blotch of spray sealant. It dripped down there, so otherwise it's really thin. So I'm applying these textures in an area where it's kind of invisible. That's kind of what I do right in here, you know what I mean? Where I was applying that darker green in the darker areas, so it wasn't standing out too much, okay? So I usually work some things from kind of, you know, barely discernible medium tones on medium tones, darker tones and darker tones. And then I work up through, you know, those lighter tones in there where things become a little bit more visible. That way it's, I don't know, for me it's easier to blend in like that if the things are just kind of coming into focus from a textural standpoint or lighting kind of, you know, gradually, rather than just hitting this area and like adding like white, you know, the extreme opposite would be doing like white highlights in here, which I added a little bit and it was really abrupt looking and it really stood out. But I don't know, I wanted to see what some of it would look like potentially on these rocks because everything was like, you know, alive, you know, or coming alive with all those dots down here. So let's do this. And I'm adding this to just brown because I don't know, I think it's, I don't know, just an earthy, warm tone. There's some colors that I don't have that I wish I existed in paint pen form, but as I've mentioned in other videos, I can understand why I don't have certain types of colors in these paint pen sets because they wouldn't be very exciting colors. You know, for me it'd be like a few variations of like warm and cool grays, but that's not going to be a color that people are going to be using most of the time in just everyday coloring book coloring. You know, I think a lot of it is for the adult coloring book market or just, you know, kids packs, things like that. You know, they want brighter, kind of more exciting colors for the most part. But I'm glad that they do have this like brown here for this purpose. Okay. Yes, I am in San Diego. Oh, Bonnie, did you you got that tracking on there? Very good, very good. I think transit times, postal, you know, the post office, I don't know if it's slow. I think it's slowed down a little bit. From what I recall, especially with like first class postage. I mean, they might be doing more consolidation, you know, to save, to be more efficient. Which, you know, that's I totally understand if that's what's going on with them, because some transit times seem to be lengthening, especially with first class, or they call it now, what is it, ground? Yeah, I forget the name of it, the new term. All right, so anyways, we're adding some of this down here. You can see those little dots right down in here. It shows up a little bit more. Oh, here we go. See that right there? All these dots right in here. It stands out a little bit, but it's kind of dark. It's mid-tone on dark. But when you go like this, you can't, you know what I mean? You can't really see it at all. You see that one textural change right there from that thing, but... oh, here we go. So you can see those right in here. So see, we're starting to get some of that texturing going in here, giving it something in relation to that area right there. There's different kind of approaches that you can do with this. If you want like this foreground to really, kind of frame off just this area in the background more, and to make this area stand out more, then we're not going to bring in those types of elements with this to make it just look different. Now, I've already done it with these little bushes down here, but this could have just been like all straight silhouette or something like that. You can almost do like a cutout or something like that, with a cricket, and just add just black silhouette. You know what I mean? So it'd have a different feel to it, and it'd be like real graphical, and it might be pretty cool to do something like that. It would be like a frame or something like that, or it would serve as kind of like graphical matting instead of just having like a blank piece of black paper around it or something like that that you'd mat your piece off with. The foreground would have shapes, but it would kind of serve as like a perimeter mat around the piece. Or it could be just black up top here, but then the bottom pieces would go into, different shapes and forms down there. I don't know, maybe I need to play around with some of that type of thing. Like in that Cricut, what do you call it? Cricut Design Studio or something like that. They have so many different shapes and things like that. And I'm sure they have like different trees that it can cut out. I wouldn't do something where I'm cutting it out, I'm stamping a bunch of stuff out myself and then cut, I'm not going to cut around these, areas in here with a scissor with the, just by hand or an X-Acto blade. I would never do that. But, if we got some machine that's doing it at the press of a button, why not? Okay. Hello, Catherine. Good to see you. Thanks for joining in. I like your little icon there. That's a little, like a watercolor scene or something like that. That looks pretty cool. I hope you have a canoe. Oh. I already forgot your reference there, Froggy Fresh. Yeah. I don't have a canoe. Do I have a canoe? No, I don't have a canoe. We have life jackets, though, but we won't need them. Oh my god, you're going to hit over 100 degrees this weekend again. Last night, man, I was so hot. It's like sweaty here. So I got my drink here, you know what I mean? And under these like studio lights in here. Like I've always said, it's not like super hot in here. My studio lights are, for the most part, they're fluorescent and LED, but there's a lot of them. So, you guys aren't making me nervous. It's just like hot if I start to sweat. Hello, Yvonne. Glad you like it. Trying to figure out what to do on it in some ways. Okay, so light tan. Okay, so this is going to be a color that starts to show up a little bit more, but see this rock right here? When you start adding in that lighter element like that, see how much more kind of three-dimensional. I've just added a couple dots to it right now, but this looks more three-dimensional than like these ones down here. So I think this one's the one here. The color, or the whatever, the element that starts to incorporate these rocks in with the scene much better. I mean, it doesn't have to be this color specifically. It's just this lightness. It could have been a light gray or something like that, or even maybe a blue might be interesting, or a pink, because there's these little violet tones down here. But at some point in time, I was mentioning this before too, a lot of stuff doesn't look like it, you know what I mean? It really stands out. Some media sometimes that we're working with looks really abrupt. It's like, oh my god, that looks terrible on there. But you have to add that texturing over everything, and sometimes multiple layers. When I got down to this like little light yellow on all of these different elements, it brought it all together because I was able to use the yellow on both the green areas and on the red areas, okay? That helped the coloring, or the whatever, the illumination of the trees, the shimmering look. And again, those white trunks were the ones that really kind of, brought it all together. So when you're doing like so much layering and things like that, again, a lot of people are they want to see things kind of look resolved like every step of the way, or at least kind of not look like it went haywire. But when you're doing certain types of methodology, and it's not like with every Stampscape scene you do this. This is like an extreme example of this, but it can go through kind of a step in its evolution that it's looking pretty bad. But it's not because it's gone haywire. It's just because it's like step, whatever. It's on an object. It might be step 5 out of whatever, 7 or 10 or whatever. You might be on like step 1, when it really looks kind of like out of place. Hubby won't surf in today's world because of sharks. Yeah, just don't go to the areas where there's known to be sharks, so they're, or attacks at least. I grew up in this city called Lompoc. It's on the central coast of California. And there was a public beach out there called Surf Beach, okay? But no one surfed out there because it's right next to the Air Force Base. And most of the coastline up there is Air Force, it's federal. But even so, even on that one, there was a couple of beaches there, Surf Beach and Ocean Beach are right next to each other. But you weren't allowed to surf out there. And in those days, I wasn't surfing up there anyway. But then they suddenly opened it up to, this public beach, a couple public beaches to surfing. And this one guy got attacked and killed by a shark. And then someone else went out. There was no history of it because they didn't allow surfing up there for the longest time. But then, almost like 1 year from that first attack out there, someone else went out there and they got attacked and were killed, It's one of those things where they probably got bit in the leg, you know what I mean? And they bled out. I'm pretty sure they made it back to shore and everything like that, but, the damage was done by the time they had anyone out there. It's not like a beach like right next to like a bunch of services or anything like that. It's not so far away, but it'd be a few minutes before anyone were able to get out there. So yeah, I wouldn't go surfing there. You can go surfing like in a lot of places though, in San Diego or Huntington Beach, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. Although they're starting to get more sharks in certain areas due to, I don't know, probably their environment or their traditional areas getting kind of impacted by, climate change and whatnot. All right, so you see this area going down here? See, we're bringing some of these rocks to life like that. It's kind of crawling with little dots in some of those areas, but we'll add more of it. I think it looks a little bit more realistic in some ways. I'm looking at it like this for where those dots are really blended in, but if I go like that, without any of this light reflecting on there, which won't be probably the lighting that's usually on this, lighting will probably look a little bit more, I don't know, like that. Here, I'll show you this other light on here. So I have this other light, and look at that. That looks like completely, then that's like a little, whatever the, I don't know if you can see that, one of these desk lights, just traditional desk lights or something like that. So that lighting on there looks a lot different. It's a little bit of a different bulb. And then when I took this outside under, like natural light, that looked a little bit different too. But, I think this is more indicative of the lighting that we would probably see on this piece, not this right here, although that looks pretty cool though. Looks like twilight or something like that. Let's see, Froggy Fresh went surf casting, once caught a swordfish when I couldn't touch the ground. Caught a sword. You went surf casting and you couldn't touch. No, oh. Oh, what? You're getting like dragged out into the water or something like that from the fight. If so, that was a pretty big. That was a pretty big catch there. We used to do that. Is that what you call it, surf casting? We used to call it just surf fishing or something like that. But we used to dig out those sand, we call them sand crabs. I think there are other terms for them that are more common, seem to be sand dabs or something like that, or sand fleas. I've watched some videos on that, and it's like, how to eat them. I guess you eat them with the shell on or something like that. Like I don't know, like a shrimp or something like that. I don't know if everyone's heard, but you ever hear of like surfing? I don't know what they call it, like territorialism or something like that. Local surfers don't like other people coming into their area. You know what I mean? Because there's only so many waves to come, and if you're out there, kind of, in theory, you're supposed to, kind of whoever's out on the line first gets priority, or whoever's taken off closer to the lip, the wave gets it. And if you're waiting out there for a while, and there's not like a lot of waves coming in, they come in sets a lot of times, and if there's a bunch of people out there, it can get pretty cutthroat. So one time, this friend of mine, it's really my friend's brother, my friend's brother, older brother. He made up these fake shark sighting signs. And this one beach where you walk down this cliff, so it wasn't like right, on the insides of the park where you're not going to post a sign like inside like a, county park or state park, but there's this one area of the beach where you park, back then you were allowed to, and then you walk down this slope, and that was where a lot of surfers would go because it was a lot shorter of a walk down the cliff, believe it or not, than, to go inside the beach and walk like a half mile down the beach back to it. So he made these fake shark sighting posters or little flyers, and he mounted it on a I think he mounted it on like a little post or something like that. I probably had him printed up like a Kinko's, a copy place or something like that. I guess the place was just getting too crowded for him. I don't know how many times he'd use that, though. All right. As I'm blabbing away, it's because, I'm adding all these little highlights down there on these rocks. Yeah, they're kind of, you know what I mean? We're giving those rocks something in common, like this. you know, with all that glare, you can't really see. There's no like highlights on those rocks, and it's unrelated, and now it's quite a bit more related from a textural standpoint. Okay, Yvonne, I'm using the 0.7 millimeter acrylic paint pens, all right? And acrylic paint pens, they typically come in your 0.7 millimeter extra fine tips, okay? This one's a really good set right here. It has 42 colors. So you have a lot of different values of different hues, okay? And then the 2 to 3 millimeter, this one says 2 millimeter right here, but I know this is the manufacturer, but every other pen set that I have that same ball thing says it's a 3 millimeter. So the 3 millimeter ones come in like smaller, like 24 colors or something like that. Okay, but they're water-based acrylic paint pens. There's also your oil-based ones, and I don't know too much about those. I've used some in the past, and I think just, I don't know. I mean, there's different manufacturers. The 0.7 millimeters I find are pretty similar to one another, and I suspect they're coming out of one manufacturing plant in China. Okay, so I tend to think that the paint maybe quality could be the same. It's not all of them, because I'm starting to use this S5 ones, and I can tell that these the ink or the pigment to binder ratio is higher on those ones because it's more opaque. So I'm using those ones where I can a little bit more, and the Amoki ones they're excellent, but they have some different colors that the other set doesn't have, so I have to use these still. So these types of pens, I think, were made. Their target audience, believe it or not, I think are people that are doing rock. What do you call it? Rock painting? I don't know. It's like, or something like that, where they're drawing on rocks. And I don't know if those are adults doing it or kids. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's being marketed both ways, but they're excellent tools for us stampers or scenic stampers, Stampers in general in terms of a white paint pen, because everyone can use a really good white paint pen, but these ones in different colors are really great for scenic stamping. I mean, you can see, it's, without these pens here, it's just not quite as I don't know, whatever, alive a scene. I'm using them in extreme here. If I'm just using a white paint pen on a lot of pieces I'm doing, it's not like this extreme. But if you want a piece to look, as much painting as, I don't know, whatever, traditional paper crafting, card making, this really gives us a good option as far as that goes. Okay. Let's see. He's got his surfing knobby knees. Okay. So he was a longboarder then, huh, Candy? You get those calcium buildups on those knees like that. It's like a badge of honor for those surfers to have those. For those that don't know what we're talking about, when you're knee paddling on a surfboard, the surfboards are hard. You got wax on it and stuff like that. And they sell pads like these days, or people have started using stuff like, that people use on like windsurfing boards or something like that. But you're just using wax. And but if you're out there surfing all the time, and surfers get pretty obsessed, with surfing all the time, and you're knee paddling, then like right on your knees, you'll get these little hard, calcium things. It'd be like if they were kneeling on, you know, I don't know, like something, relatively hard, like all the time, and then you're swimming. You know what I mean? It's rubbing a little bit too. All right, this is some purple right here, and I'm seeing if it's a little bit lighter. It's about the same value as that kind of tan beige that I was just using. Okay. It might be a little bit lighter actually than that previous one, but fairly similar. Okay, so I'm getting a little bit more of a rich kind of lighting scheme or textural type of thing in here with the additional color like this, and it's a color that relates to colors that are in the rock already. Okay. I think that looks pretty good. The one thing that I kind of wish is I wish there was like a duller, I don't know, like a violet, like a gray violet or something like that. Okay, there's certain things that we can do too. Okay, I can add down some of these acrylic paint pen dots, and where there doesn't exist the color in the paint pen, whatever color world or something like that, you can color these dots again with alcohol ink, so I can go over it and it's like, okay, that really stands out too much or whatever, or that's not exactly the color that I want. You might be able to kind of formulate it with an additional layer of a different medium, and that would be alcohol ink, because alcohol would stick to the the acrylic reasonably well. Or wherever you add it down, you're going to be adding it down onto the rocks around it too. But anyways, you see these. See, this is kind of bringing those shadows to life a little bit. See, this was just dark and then slightly lighter right there, but you put that little highlight down there and it makes that rock a little bit more three-dimensional. Now, how much you want to do with this, yeah, I don't know, or how much I want to do of it, because it's not like I want every rock to be treated kind of equally in here. We might want some lighting to be a little bit brighter. Maybe the central area, maybe I'll bring it more of this textural or texture into it, and it's kind of textural illumination as well because it's light. So I'll just make this area a little bit lighter in here. And again, it's with, it's not with white, it's, with the violet or light pale violet, I guess. Like that. So see, it's a little bit more active right here. And again, I'm going to be putting other stuff over this foreground here, but I think that this foreground's starting to come together for me a little bit more. Or a lot more, I guess. As far as like incorporated it in with the with what's going on with the rest of the scene. Let's see. Candy, did we talk? Yeah, where did he go surfing? It was in that Orange County area, right? Did we talk about Seal Beach before too? I can't remember that. I thought I was talking about it one time. Like Seal Beach has this jetty area, and the water was always like super warm in there because there was this this power plant not a nuclear power plant, but it was like, I don't know, there was like some kind of cooling thing that went on with that power plant, so it was always, you know, like letting off like warm water into that river going out to the sea. But someone was in the live chat before that was I thought we were talking about Seal Beach. Now that I think about it. All right, so okay. So you can see all these different tones in here. This is kind of a silvery type of holographic paper right here, but I think it has like the overall kind of dominant tone in here for me. I'm talking about on the paper. It's a little bit kind of pinkish, so I'm going to add some of this down into here, okay? It's not like I want pink rocks or anything like that, but it's just a little bit of a hint of, some of the colors that are down here. Okay, now I'm looking at this. I'm looking at it on my camera, or on the screen right here. You're not seeing what I'm seeing because I'm looking at this paper at a different angle, but okay, yeah, see that? There's a lot of pink right here. See that real pinkish tone right there? So if you're adding pink into, like these rocks in here that are, they're a little bit more opaque after my base coat layer of white down here. Just about any colors that we add in here, it'll relate to the lighting within the scene, because on this holographic there's all kinds of colors in here, but there's a lot of pink in here, so not only will this pink, I don't think, not stand out kind of obtrusively and unrelated, but it'll entirely relate to a color that's within this color scheme. So I'm looking at it on camera right now on my thing, and I don't see any pink. Maybe right here. Look at this. See, like even my shadow, changes, the colors underneath there like that. See this right here? I don't know what I thought about this paper before. I mean, I really thought it was cool, but I haven't used like a ton of it. But I would kind of recommend it now. After some of the latest pieces that I've done over this past week, and a lot of it was kind of made possible by the spray sealants, and being able to add more color into this piece and just use the paper for its strong. Look how three-dimensional that looks right now down here. It almost looks like I put a sticker over that, of that imagery right in there. But again, that paper looks really interesting now in there. Looks like almost like night now in there. We wouldn't have all those colors, but like in the objects, they'd just be still silhouettes if they were night. But it kind of looks almost like night light, like that. So many papers. I don't know if there's like not enough time, but there's a lot of things yet to explore. They always open up, like one door opens up into like two other doors, kind of, wine off from that in terms of kind of other routes we can go with stuff. Okay, all right. Boy, I sure added a lot of dots down those rocks down there. Okay, I'm just trying to make an assessment right here. I'm looking right around here. I think that's enough. And as I'm looking at that, I'm still hoping that, I can get my other imagery to stamp right over the top of it, for a little bit of extra depth. Okay, so one of the things I was thinking about doing in here, I really like the way this looks, but sometimes I like to add in. So I added in kind of a light trunk in here with the paint pen, right? Sometimes I like to add in, especially like this little leafless pine, or we can use something like this in here too. Maybe that'd be a little bit too big. I really like this leafless limb. But if I can stamp this over in here in black and have it show, I think that looks really good. It's not like super like obvious or anything like that when it's in there. It looks a little bit more integrated, but I'm wondering if it's even going to stamp out over all of that acrylic paint pen work in there. I guess we can try. If I'm going to do it, you know, I would add it like right in here as one of them. I almost want two of them, maybe like over here. Okay, I'm going to do something. I'll do something that's kind of a little trick here. You just kind of do it like a little corner like that. If you get a good impression of it, then okay. And if it doesn't look good, then it's like almost going to be invisible anyway because it's just on the corner of the page. But we'll see how it goes. But look at it. These are like some of the different colors that have been used right in here. I didn't use the green yet, but we'll bring some of that in there. Yeah, Candy, it's amazing. But it's also the that spray sealant really toned it down. So, okay, so if people don't know too, this is that paper just without any spray sealant on there, okay? But look at the inks over the top of it. Okay, this is the exact paper that's on here, but this has been locked down with spray sealants, and the spray sealants kind of give it that more satiny kind of there's a lot, it's a little bit more I don't know, maybe iridescent or something like that, than that sharp holographic look. I like that sharp holographic look, okay? It is not for this specific imagery, okay? You know, I would use less sealants probably on, you know, like pine trees or something like that. They're really bold and solid. But on this, you know, with open imagery, I can't see this tree at all there. Okay. So I just stamped it like right here, and that didn't show up in there, okay? I think it just has too much media on there. It's either that or sometimes when I'm holding the StazOn ink down too long, it dries. And it's drying to the on the rubber as well, so when I'm lifting off like that, I might have lifted off. So maybe if I stamp it faster, I don't know. Okay, that was on the StazOn ink though too. I could use the Brilliance black. Yeah, okay, let's just go ahead and try it since we're experimenting around with this one right here. So I feel like I just like laid that down like that, and when I lifted that off, I felt like it just all came off, or nothing applied. Or if it did, it was like a 5% version of black, you know, which is like 5% gray, basically. Okay, so let's try this right here. Okay, so the Brilliance ink is going to be a lot thicker. I don't know what I think about like a VersaFine Clair at this point in time too. I tend to think it's not going to dry on here, but maybe some of the spray sealant, it could potentially allow it to dry a little bit, and then you spray seal over the top of it to seal it in anyway, you know? But sometimes when something's not drying, like a oil-based medium, and then even if you spray seal over the top of that, you might kind of go in there later on, and then if you move it a little bit, that spray sealant wasn't so effective as to dry the oil content within those oil-based that oil-based media, so it's still kind of prone to smearing. Okay, so that I don't know if you can see it there. It's in there. I don't know if you can see a little bit of that tree right there. Okay. it's a dark area, so I don't see it too much. But I'm going to try it right in here. We might not be able to see it very much, but it doesn't look obtrusive over here, okay? And here, I don't know, maybe it could be because it's right in the middle. But you're not watching me on these types of live streams to not take chances on things. And then someone might type into the thing, yeah, Kevin, but we're not, we're not watching the channel to watch like you ruin things either. Or, to mean to come up with like horrible looking. I don't even know if this is going to stand out against this because this is like a darker background. This is like just stamping black in there. But I don't know, let's just do it. So I'm holding this down a little bit longer because this is a thicker pigment ink and it's a water-based one, and Brilliance Inks it's a fast drying pigment ink, so I'm just trying to get it to allow it to set up a little bit, and then I'll lift it off. It's not going to dry completely where it's stuck to the rubber like a solvent base stays on. Okay. I don't know. It looks okay. I don't really see it too much. It's kind of invisible. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it really did anything. So, I don't know. We gave it a try. So that was that. But it did give me a pretty clean impression. This is just too spindly. Oh, okay. So if I wanted that in here, I would add in like this little mist or something like that with some white pigment ink going across there so that it would look lighter. And even if you don't have to see this whole thing, but if I have like some mist running through here where we could see some of the forms a lot more, then it would be obvious that it's in there. I might try it in some of these other areas right here. So with that white background a little bit more. Okay. All right, so let's see here. Fresh has 8 kitties, a St. Bernard Chihuahua, 3 birds, an alligator. That's a lot of pets there. Scan and cut. I need to get that. We do have a scan and cut. My wife has one, and I was telling someone that I want to use the scan and cut for the fences to bring in some 3-dimensional types of looks with that. I'm looking for my leaves stamp. I just found it right before I started this video. Where did it go? I think I put it over here somewhere. Oh, here we go. Okay, so, all right. All right, let's do, boy, let's get some other foliage in here. This is the leaves stamp, all right. Hopefully it stands out in this water area up here in the corner. And hopefully I get a little bit of it showing down here in these rocks and some of the lighter areas. I'm holding this down again because if I lift it up too fast, this paper being non-porous, it's not really grabbing onto the ink very fast, so I really want it to transfer, because I don't want to lift this up and see, oh, there's like a 10% gray version of it. It just, wouldn't look really good. Now this would be good if I had some other colors of Brilliance ink. I think it'd be kind of cool if I stamped some of these out in like a green and a black on top of it or something like that. That gave me a pretty good impression quality right there. I'm reasonably pleased with that. It's like a 85% black. It's not 100% or whatever. that it looks like on a piece of paper, but okay, I need a little bit of a denser bush right here. Okay, let's see. Hello, Bill. Good to see you. Yeah, Sunday. I thought earlier Sunday, but the latest thing I heard was Sunday night. That one was a lot lighter there. I think I was holding it down for a little bit less time. But like I said, this paper's a little bit unpredictable in terms of impression quality. But I don't mind it because there's the darker version of it and the lighter version of that tree. It does look like it. I think it's pushing depth pretty well. I think it looks pretty interesting next to that, and I stamped over some of those reflections down there. But I didn't cover it up completely or anything like that. Lichen, yeah. Boulders with lichen for the rocks down below. All right, let's bring in some more leaves on this side to frame off our pond here. I'm calling it pond. I think there's a pond called, I'll have to take a look at it later. Was it Jordan Pond in Acadia National Park? It was a pretty big, like, we'd call it a lake out here, but they call it Jordan Pond, I think, out there. And that was one of those hikes that I did. That was really fantastic. Not that, I don't know, I wasn't thinking about Acadia here. It's just some sort of, deciduous evergreen forest, wherever it is. Hobby shop bought long board to hang on the wall when boards got shorter. That's that brand. Are you talking about? Wasn't it that Hobie shop? But that was in that was in Sunset Beach, right? Let's see. You like that leafless limb, huh? Are you talking about the one that was in that video? Or you were talking about the small one that I just used right now. I like it too. Okay, so this tree stands out. It always stands out much more when I'm doing it on white cardstock. Okay, I don't know why, because some of my colors get like that, but maybe it's just, I don't know. Maybe, like, I'm stamping on this metallic cardstock and a bunch of spray sealant over the top of it, or not spray sealant, but spray fixative. Well, sealant in some areas too, but yeah, it's just, I don't know. Maybe I went crazier with the paint pens too on here, which I'm sure I did, but yeah, I don't know. It's just not really showing up very well there. Although I can see it very clearly here where I'm sitting from. It almost looks like it's embossed, but it's like invisible at certain angles. Oh, wouldn't it be cool to do some embossed foreground elements on here? I don't like embossing on top of metallic cardstock though, because sometimes if you leave the heat on it for too long, it changes the cardstock or something like that. Whatever's over the top of it, or whatever's over that metal, that foil in there, it can change a little bit, or it can really start to curl. I know you're supposed to like do the embossing gun from far away, but sometimes you got to get closer because it's just not melting. That material on there. But it would be kind of cool to have some of these things in here really stand out, really dimensionally. But I don't know, can you see this? these leaves in here. It's starting to frame it off a little bit more. There's a lot of monotony between the top and the bottom of the rock, just in terms of, I don't know, whatever, colors, texture, everything. So it's just nice to kind of block some of it off in here. Okay, so I was thinking about adding in like something like this in here too. Right around in here. You know, maybe some trees like this. Like this. I'm a little bit gun shy in a way because I don't, like I said, I want these to come out nice and dark. And I'm not quite sure if I've figured out the formula for doing that. Is it just holding the thing down long enough? I don't know. Okay, I wanted to use this one in here, so I'm going to go ahead and do it. You know, it's kind of weird that leafless limb's standing out to me more the more it dries for some reason. Maybe from a textural standpoint, when you first stamp it out, it's shiny and glossy, and we got all these. So you can see that tree right there at an angle like that, like right in here. See how I have that light? But for me, it's this Brilliance ink dries kind of more matte looking, so it's not as reflective of the light. So to me, I mean, it's not like standing out like super prominently or anything like that, but it's standing out a lot more to me now than it was like a few minutes ago. Not, I think it was kind of, it's not playing as prominent, role or anything like that. I probably wouldn't do it again in the future. But it's just kind of interesting. And then when I spray seal these things down, I don't, maybe it's going to change the texturing again. It'll unify them a little bit more. So I don't know what it'll look like then. All right, this is going to be a really big component that I'm going to be adding in here. I wanted to add in maybe that little rowboat, but one of the things I wanted to do too, I'm kind of wondering if I should do it now, but I wanted to add in some more clouds up here, some more patterned clouds, like a little ripped paper towel type of thing. I thought that was this whole area in the sky looks a little bit kind of the same to me. So, okay, let's go ahead and do it. Yeah, you forced me to. All right. I was thinking about over here, some clouds coming in over here. I already have that white in there. Do you see that white where I've added it in the background right in here? And if you saw that kind of first video too, but let's just see I'll just do a really light application of it, and we'll just kind of go from there. Okay, let's see. The bald spots are gone. Yeah, all that pen ink over the top of that, it took care of all that, didn't it, Linda? Let's see. Oh, I didn't get. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't get Bill's joke. Cynthia had to kind of point that out to me. All right, but yes, that's a good one. All right, so I'm seeing if these that looks like, yeah, that's a good shape here. Let's alter that a little bit more. We got this a free class coming up in a Zoom session of how to, cloud templates and paper towel cloud template ripping. I'm joking, folks. So just, you just rip a towel like this, and I'm trying to go for kind of a more of a, I don't know, what I think would be a good, decent silhouette, for or shape for a cloud like that. Okay. Which way? Let's go this way, like this. All right, where did I say? Or maybe over here. Okay, so I'll have a little bit of a cloud up here. Okay. I'm not going to do it too thick, you know, with the pigment ink, unless I like it, and the more I add, the better it looks. Okay, so we'll see how this goes. Okay, so a frayed paper, cotton ball like this, not good. So you dip it into your pigment inks. I'd recommend the white Brilliance ink for this one. Again, the other types of pigment inks are oil-based. It might work on there, it might not. Sometimes it works because you're just adding a really thin layer of it, where if you stamp something on this paper, maybe it doesn't dry if it's a oil-based pigment ink. But most of the kind of misty, cloudy types of applications of pigment ink that I've added into papers that are traditionally not compatible with oil-based pigment inks, it's work because it's just the amount of it that you're using isn't, a lot. Okay, so again, I don't want a big slathering of this, but so I keep pushing this down to get this into the right flatness and, kind of shape. There's only so much you can do to, shape your cotton ball. Here, I'll get that little tail out of there like that. All right, so something like that. And this isn't super soaked up or anything like that. And then I'm just adding it right next to this. I'm halfway on the cotton ball and halfway on my paper. And I'm going back a little bit. And then what I do is I start coming down this way, the drier this gets, so that it's a little bit stronger up top, and then it transitions into a lighter application of it. That's how I start off. And I mean, I might alter it a little bit, or a lot. Okay, but see, it looks like that right there. Okay, but then what you do is to make it look a little bit more freeform, like it was over here, then you just come in over here and you shape it a little bit more like this. All right, and then what you do is after that you kind of go a little bit freeform, just to diffuse that edge a little bit more like this. Okay, I'm going to come over the tops of some of my trees, so some of these trees look a little bit lighter too, so you get some of that cloud coming into it. It's not supposed to represent, this cloud isn't supposed to represent something that's like right in these trees or anything like that, but it kind of merges with them a little bit. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add kind of a more thicker application in some of this, just so that cloud is a little bit lighter and there's more depth to the cloud. So it's like, this is like farther back, but if you have more ink right here, it's whiter and it looks like it's closer to you. All right, so let's see how that's looking. It's looking okay. It might be a little bit too much though. Let's see, let's tone it down. I'm just taking the clean side of that cotton ball. And this is still wet, okay, so I'm making it more it's translucent already, but I'm making it a little bit thinner and more transparent, okay? Just go like that, right in there. I think that looks pretty good. And you can see what it looks like, how I've applied it there, but that's the way it looks right there. So you still get that light shining through it, okay? It stands out a little bit too because it's the only thing right there, so I'm going to bring some more. It's kind of sloping down this way. I'm going to come up right in here into this space. I think I'm going to do it with a freeform application. Well, let's see. Maybe I'll do it mostly freeform or freehand. So I'll go like that. I'll just get a little bit of a clump there, and I'll just kind of blend that out like this. So I'm wiping a little bit too here. Okay, so you get a little of that horizon cloud in the background. Like that. All right. All right, now this is where I'm going to bring this into the, we're sandwiching our forms now. I started this off with a blocking out with white pigment ink in the background so that when I stamped my autumn imagery over the top of it, we wouldn't just have all this patterning showing right through it, okay? So it's kind of going full circle. We're going back to the white, and I'm going to add it in some of these areas around here, so it's kind of enveloping the objects with that same lighting and texture. Okay, so I'm going to make this a little bit more narrow like this too. Okay, I'm going to use what's already on here, and right in these shadow areas in here, this is where I like to add this in. I like to do it on the right around at the water's edge, but I also like having a little of that mist coming through the trees in there. Okay, so okay, this got too dry. I'll have to ink it up again. So I'm starting it in the lighter area. You see that look kind of misty, kind of texturing in there, and then I'm coming across here like so, like that. Maybe through these trees here, I'll mask some of it off, and I'll put some of this mist in like this, or fog or whatever. And you see that diffusion in there? So it relates to the background, so something's relating to front and back or whatever. Okay. And it's going like okay. There, do you see it right in there? So you can see the difference between over here and over here. Texturally, I mean, this stands out. This is like high noon or something like that. Okay, and you put in that little tinge of mist or something like that. It looks like more like early morning to me or something like that. It's a little bit more atmospheric. Okay. You know, I wouldn't say one's better than the other. You know, I mean, the mist is better, but you don't have to do that. Yeah, see that kind of running through there like that? Sometimes this application of white pigment ink on like cardstock looks different when it dries, but I think with this pigment ink on top of this foil, when you add it in here, I think it stays like that a lot more than paper that's kind of absorb, you know, like cardstocks that's absorbing that moisture. With this, as I'm applying it on here, you know, it's all kind of surface oriented. It's not getting absorbed through the foil at all. A future scene of mine, I want to do this scene called, that's going to be called The Enchanted Forest. I don't know if I've done that before, but I want to do an 11 by 17 of kind of a darker forest. It's because there's this one YouTube song, you know, the music that I add into the videos. One's called The Enchanted Forest, and I want to do a scene kind of based around that scene, but I would envision, you know, I'd imagine like a lot of kind of fog, you know, in that piece, maybe kind of illuminated by moonlight or something like that. All right, but there we go, like that. I really couldn't wait to see what that kind of fog and mist would look like in this piece. Well, it really looks different than like that. And like that, a lot of that mist kind of like disappears. So again, it's kind of like what the angle. So see that that cloud did right here? It kind of it changed the, you know, this it's a little bit higher up here and it kind of peters out down here, so it kind of added that little bit of a slope in here like that. I mean, there's things you can do too, like if you want that cloud to be kind of reflected in this water down here too, you know, we can do something like that. I can put a little bit of this down here like this. I don't want the reflection to be kind of as light as the you know, what it's reflecting like that. See, there's just that little bit like right there. It's a little bit too much though, so let's diffuse it a little bit. But like that. All right, so a little bit more depth, or I don't know, I think a lot more depth with that fog in there. Let's see, let's add a little bit more. Oh, here. See these trees right here? How this kind of winds around back there, and those trees are smaller, but they're also more distant. I like to kind of push them back a little bit visually too with this pigment ink. Like that. See that a little bit like that? And I think that looks like farther back, and I could do the same thing right there. That. So this tree right here is closer to us. Now that tree in the background is a little bit farther away. Whatever, texturally, visually. Okay. Sealant and a fixative. Bill, it's usually, the sealants have a little bit more texture to them when they dry, and they're thinner, and they don't influence the what you have laid down so much, you know, because a fixative is supposed to just affix everything that you've applied so that you can keep working on there. Usually, that's what, you know, people are doing. Sometimes, you know, people are doing charcoal or pastel work. You know, they might just use a fixative just to affix it and to have a final coating on there. But oops, again, it's not to kind of influence the surface. Sometimes with spray fixative sealants, you're really spraying to get a nice thick coat over something like that, like a real glassy coat. Okay, you know, they might be using a sealant, you know, a glossy sealant triple thick on furniture even, or something like that. I blurred a little bit leaf right there, so let's see. Sharpie pen to the rescue. Okay, so on this one right here, that spray fixative, which is very, like I said, textural, because if it's not textural, here I can make some of these leaves a little bit darker too with the Sharpie. You know, those spray fixes are real textural, so on this piece it gave it a real kind of luminous, kind of satiny looking finish to it. And that's because, again, the fixatives have a little bit of a tooth to it, they call it. You don't want some kind of like glossy coating with you know, if you're working with graphites or something like that, or charcoals in a class, or, you know, it doesn't have to be a class, it could be a piece of art or whatever. and then you want to be able to apply more on top of it without the bottom just kind of flaking off. So they make spray fixatives fairly thin and very quick drying too, so you can go to work on your piece immediately. But again, yeah, the glossy sealants are a lot more of a kind of a protective base or something like that, or a beautifier too, to make things really super saturated and like even more vivid looking. Like on a lot of my scenes, like dye-based ink ones, those look really good. It really jacks up the intensity of the colors. If you watch any of the videos, what I call them, there's a playlist too that's called like spray sealants or something like that. And you can tell on a lot of the pieces when I, before spray sealing and after, they can be hugely influenced by that sealant. I'm talking about making something go from looking sometimes really dull to sometimes really, really vibrant in terms of saturating the surface of the paper. Okay, let's see here. Okay, I'm adding more things in here. Okay, so I'm not just adding this. I think this is going to look really weird at first, but I'm going to be adding in more into it. I'm just not quite sure how far I want to go up with this. This can be over here too. Maybe this is a better location for it. Right here. See, I don't have very much space here for this little nook, so I don't want to go right here too. I think I want to go over here. All right, I waited too long. Probably. Alright, I didn't use the bottom, I don't know, quarter of it. I heat embossed on foil and ended up with crackle. Yeah, you got to watch out for that. So, like people, I hadn't been doing a lot of embossing, so I got a lot of tips from everyone, like here, So you emboss from the back of it too. Really move your gun around and then heat from the back. You don't have to get it all at one time, but you can kind of get it warmed up a little bit and on top or something like that. Then try heating it in the back and then going up on top again. But yeah, that's the one thing about the foils. It can give you that crackled finish. So, and also with certain colors like gold, I get that rainbowing type of coloration happening with the gold. So you can get this little rainbow. It looks kind of cool, if you're kind of using it for that purpose, but be aware of it. And yeah, sometimes with certain types of, I'm guessing with certain types of embossing powders too, some of them probably require more heat and, some less. So I'd imagine that, can play into it. All right, so that's that branch, or that tree right there. I think it added a lot of depth to the piece. So, so I have like three different things going in here. We have the rocks, and then we have the water, and then we have the row of trees here, the water's edge, or whatever, pond's edge. And then we have sky, okay? But see, this is like one of those things that's going through, and even if it's just touching that little edge up there, kind of like these are doing right in here, it's kind of merging these three different areas together in a way. That's what I used to do with a lot of, I was showing them that leafless limbs stamp. The larger one, though. That's why I was using that one so much in those early days, before I had a lot of foreground imagery. That one was being used like a lot. Okay, so... I need something else yet. I don't think I just want another dead tree right here. Or do I? I think this is too many verticals right here. You know, I need it in thirds maybe. Maybe right here, here, and here. Or does it need to go up here a little bit? Maybe like, maybe not this one here. I don't know, maybe I just need more. Here. See, where did these leaves go again? Let's go with these leaves again. Maybe the I'm looking for my smaller, my medium size leafless pine. I thought I just saw that somewhere. All right, it was right. Here's this really small one. This is, I don't. Well, actually, this one might work if I have it coming in from the other side of the other side of the rock. I would normally just use that top of that large one again, but this is like a big in-depth project that I'm doing, so all right, I'm gonna use this one right here like that, but it's gonna be on the other side of this rock right here. So all right, this is called like reiteration of form. You know, like designers use this, like, I don't know, whatever type of element throughout a given space. Like not what, you know, not like my house is. You know what I mean? I didn't like design it all at one time or something like that. It's like stuff, you know, came in over the course of like 30 years. You know what I mean? But if you go to like the model house, they'll have like the same element running through, or the same color, you know, and little touches here and there. But we were talking about surfing. You know, if you go look at model houses around here, that might have a surf element or something like that, where there's a board hanging in one room, then there's like another room has like a frame of, you know, people surfing or something like that. Okay, but this is, again, this is like doing something like large and then small. I need to make sure that I don't wipe that up because this is still wet right here. But this is like another kind of repetition of form. It's just, you know, large and small in here to give it a little bit of continuity with shape. And it pushes depth a little bit too, you know. Having like a larger version of something and a smaller version of it in the same scene. Okay, let's see here. Vintage scrap device. Stamp on a sheet of acrylic and then lay it over the paper to see how it'll look before actually stamping on the card. That's a great idea. Someone that I know of used to stamp all of their stamps with like on like Mylar, okay, and they would keep that stamp or that little thing with the with their stamp. It was all wooden stamps back then, but she would keep that piece with the thing, and she would work out like these really elaborate compositions with the Mylars. Now, she didn't have like multiples of a certain thing, but she can get the gist of kind of the structure. I didn't go right down to that rock, so I'm just adding it in right here. Okay, but I think that did the trick right there. I might add in a little bit more foreground, but see that? Those two like that? It's almost like a parent and child, but it's like of a you know, a tree. It might not be bad to have like one more of these right here. I'll have it kind of obscured though. You know, think about kind of groupings of three. I mean, this shape is kind of, you know what I mean, stands out reasonably prominent because it's, you know, not like a positive, I know, little spindly thing isn't like throughout the entire scene, but so I think on a either conscious or subconscious level, having these three like this will kind of, I don't know, register in some ways compositionally, you know, in terms of that whole thing about odds. You know, they talk about the like, rule of thirds and things like that. If you guys haven't heard of that, I don't know. Someone can look that up. I don't really know too much about it, but I've heard when you do things in like threes from a, I don't know, visual composition. I don't know. It might have, you know, be an audio too, but see this little one down here now. You know what I mean? There's two over here, but it's, I don't know, it just seems like more balanced like that, having it like three of them like that. All right, so I think this is, yeah, let's have one more of this one right here, this leaf stamp. I just need to soften this up right here where this tree is kind of coming up here. So I just need a little bit more of this, these leaves down here. Okay, and it's just going to be dark on dark, so it's not going to be super prominent, but that tree like that, just it's a little bit too harsh to me, and I need to soften up this area right around in here. And maybe I need to come in here over here a little bit too. Is anyone here? Who did I directed someone to the Jolene Meyer scenes. Someone was asking about the stamping out like a river. Was that anyone here? But I showed them the Jolene Meyer scenes, and she used to do like, I think, I don't know, she started off doing certain scenes or whatever. And she learned it from Pam Klein. These two names are in the Stampscapes website gallery. But those two, especially for that time, and they're right up there, just, I don't know, whatever, historically, using the Stampscape stamps. They came out with some of the most elaborate compositions, okay? This is like 20 years ago or something at this point in time, but you can see what they did using those Mylars, or whatever they were using, you know, acetate or something like that. And yeah, it was really, really amazing. I should put a link right here in the chat thing, but it's in the Jolene Meyer, Meyer, I think, gallery, and but it's in her, like the really elaborate ones were like the gallery 2. She has like 2 galleries on the website. Who is it? Is Jeannie still in here? Jeannie, you got like, I don't know, whatever you had, 10 galleries. All right, so I'm just kind of softening up this area down below here. And, I don't know, pushing depth a little bit more too, I guess. All right, couple more impressions, and I think this scene will be done, unless, I don't know, something else occurs to me that it needs, but I think this will be it. I wasn't quite sure if I was going to run into something while doing this stream that, the scene really needs this or that. The type of thing that I run into sometimes is I'll go a little bit crazy with something where it's like I might overwork something a little bit. And then, like in these foreground trees or something like that, and then I might want to add in like highlights to it or something of that sort. So that adds into the process. But I think this one's going to be better looking if I just leave these foreground elements that I've just stamped in here as just straight silhouettes, no highlighting or anything on there. I think it's already kind of busy enough down here with all those dots like that. So adding these just other kind of just mellow, solid elements down here, help out. Another thing I was thinking about yesterday was I think we could have some hanging elements, like some leaves around in this areas, like around here, but I think I'd just rather leave it just as is. And I'm really tempted to add in some like splatter painted little stars up here or something like that across that sky. Maybe real thin versions. I mean, this looks like, most of the times it looks like kind of daytime to me with, whatever reflected light's on there. But then when you go like that, it really it looks like nighttime in many ways. Like that. Not with all those colors down here, but I'm talking about, I don't know, the foil like this. So it'd be kind of interesting to have something else in there. But I think there's a lot of depth in here. Man, I just don't, don't mess up on that kayaker. I'm finding that I can't really wipe off some of this ink so much. It's not that easy. You can wipe it right clean off with no problem off of the just the straight foil, but all these layers of workable fixative on there, it's you can wipe off some to an extent. Like I was able to move around that cloud quite a bit, but you're left with a little bit of a kind of an impression in there. So yeah. So on this one, it's not really so much, compositionally, is that going to look good? But is it going to stamp well is my question here. I think I want like a little kayaker right here. I think over here. See, this is like center right here, but if you have them coming, so this kayaker's like facing this way. So I usually don't have them over on this side. I usually have things going into the scene. Okay, so like something like this, they're going into the scene side. Here's center. I usually don't put it over here, right? I usually put them right here, or you know what I mean? Looking into the scene. With something like this, I don't know. It looks okay centered like that, but I might, even if you do bump it a little bit, maybe slightly over here. See, I don't have much room over here because I have these trees now. If I knew I was going to stamp this one out, then I probably would have positioned this tree over here, something like that. But even just a little bit, I'm talking about the figure. Here's center right here. You don't have to have the whole image over here, but, the figure right here is the thing that you're going to be looking at, in terms of a visual entities. But although down here it doesn't look too bad because everything's kind of going into that section too, but, just in general, that's my inclination as far as like location of things and animals and things, that sort. Now this is something that I'm going to want to apply a little white pigment ink over so that they're in the same type of mist or fog. But okay. Am I being influenced by the those bands of colors in there? I think Yeah, I think right there. It was either up here or down here. I think lower. All right. We'll see how this comes out. Yeah, Linda, the Enchanted Forest. That was, so we'll have one that's kind of being influenced by music. Instead of the music being kind of like an afterthought. Revisiting my youth with Creedence Clearwater Revival. For some reason, I was thinking of Fogerty recently. All right, I didn't smudge it. Oh my god! But look at all that ink on there still. So that just comes to show you how much ink didn't transfer over. I almost could have got a second impression of it. I'm guessing I got about half of the ink on there. See how light they are? Would they have looked better, darker? I don't know. I don't think it looks bad to have it a little bit lighter though. So I'm going to let these things dry off and then I'll spray seal it. Then I'll come in here with a little bit of that. I almost touched that. Or did I? That little bit of white pigment ink right in here. Okay, so it'll match that type of misty, whatever texturing in there. Can you even see this right here? This is where I colored in this whole little section in here with oh, it was like a color like this. This type of alcohol ink doesn't stick on here as well, so it's a little bit lighter, but I think I used something like this in here, so like right back in here. So it was just seeing how some of these alcohol inks just look just on that straight paper like that, but I think I'm going to, I don't know, those stars might look pretty good up there. I wonder if I should hit it a little bit up top here. I can't decide if I want this, really predominantly day or if I want it to be also night. I can probably get a really light splattering of some white pigment ink up there. I mean, not pigment ink, but the Dr. Martens, like a real thin layer where it's not too visible, unless, you're holding it at a certain angle. So, let's just do it. Dr. Martens, Dr. P.H. Martin's Bleed Proof White. I'll go for like the lightest, thinnest splattering I've ever done on any scene. I probably, because I almost, like I said, I almost want it to be invisible. So you just take it in. I'm really bringing this in here because but I just have it just right on the tip of that right there. But that's, I usually don't do too much more than that. And then what you do want to do is you want to sop out a lot of that paint off of the brush too, because you don't want to get a big blob. That's what I do with all of them though. I'm using a little bit less paint on this one, so it's going to look like this right here. And this is what I'm just going for, something like that, a little bit like that. So I'll get a little bit more of this off of here so I get like a thinner application. Sometimes the less ink you have on there, kind of the thinner or the smaller the dots look sometimes, I think, or I'm convinced. All right. So you see it like that, you know, not super apparent, but then you go like that, and, you know, day, twilight, and night. Up there. These look like laser beams or something like that up top there. Let me put a little of this texturing down here too. It's like in those Chinese paintings, they have that kind of splatter painted white sometimes going across like you know, like a cherry blossom branch or something like that. All right. A couple of them, little dots are up there too, but kind of indiscernible, except for those in the know who have watched me do this or watch it on live stream. But I don't know if people would notice those dots up there or not, you know, if they're just looking at the scene like this. So, all right, so this was a huge amount of fun. Like I said, I'm not completely done with this, but it just needs to dry and be spray sealed one more time, you know, for the cloud up here and these foreground elements. Just a light spray, and I think it's going to adhere pretty well on this paper without it, but it's just in the event of someone, I don't know, rubbing their hand across it or something like that. But I do want to add like a little bit more of that cloudy texturing right in here, but that is the scene like this. There's a lot more depth in here from this foreground to the background than I thought I would get after adding in those foreground elements. I didn't think I would get as decent a black impressions in there. So it seems strange, huh? I got darker impressions on these trees. I don't know, did I hold those ones down longer than that one? But that being, like I said, that being a little bit lighter might push it back in the distance, you know, which it's supposed to represent anyways. So I don't know, not too bad. And there it goes with the light changes on that. I think that little figure in there was the way to go. The deer here in the foreground I think would look pretty good too, but I don't know, having that little figure in there, maybe it pulls the viewer back into the distance a little bit more so. I think that if we did this like as a really deep nighttime type of thing, I think that deer would look pretty good in here, and then you'd splatter paint down here in the water so that it would really look like a bunch of stars being reflected in that water. I think that would look pretty cool over the front of this, and you get that kind of northern lighty, like, you know, looking type of thing. Let me see what this looks like with this other lighting on here. So this is like my other light in here. Looks like you know, sometime around sunset. There's my light right there. But if you just go like that, it's like a whole different temperature on there, isn't it? Look at that right there. Look at that light beam right there. Do you see that blue right there? It's kind of cool. So it's, and there's that blue, you know, purple over there. But yeah, so different moods, you know, as we were talking about before. It's like a mood piece. Looks different depending on what lighting is hitting it, at whatever, at different angles, I guess, too. It's a fun paper to work with. It's a loud paper to work with, and again, on these loud papers, I think kind of taming them a little bit kind of helps with a lot of the different types of imagery. If you want to go for something really cool, I think, and really easy would be, if you want to do it in stamping, then just, you can stamp these types of things out and just do them really dark, okay? And then have like a silhouette in here, and then just, you know, I mean, it might not be a full page scene like this, but if you're doing, you know, a, let's see, if you're doing it like a smaller, and this is the gold, but if you have like a real solid things like this in silhouette against this sky right here, and then you just do that splatter painting, which I've done before. There's other videos of that, but you can do really cool applications just with, speedy applications. You do those things that you're talking about with the scan and cut, stamp out a few objects, maybe do it in, I don't know, whatever, white paper, whatever, and it would cut it out. And then if you want to just tone it all in, kind of a darker thing, and just, put it right over the top like that. And Linda, that's not cheating. We were talking about, Linda and I were talking about, I totally get what she was talking about when we would cut out that little kneeling woman and, cut her out and just, paste it down. That we don't have to worry about kind of working around her and things like that. But I don't know, you can do all kinds of things with that different paper. It would make it, some of these papers really easily applicable to scenes like that, just doing a scan and cut or something like that. Like I said, it's just dark foreground like that. If you want to do that thing where you do those trees that are kind of pointed inward, like you're looking up at the sky like that, you can do that, and that would be really cool too. Just stamp it right on in there, and you'd have all these beams showing through like that, or whatever type of patterning you want. But okay, so this one right here, in a recap, if you want to do these kind of open styles of images on this type of paper, just kind of follow that order. Okay, now this wouldn't work without the spray sealant, so that's what I'm incorporating in with it. So I'm just blocking it out with some white. And if I stamped this down here before, it would have kind of lifted off the white that was down here, but the spray sealants are really kind of opening some doors in terms of kind of opening up that kind of crazy type of paper to, a lot of our other types of techniques. You just have to throw in an extra step or two or three. Not entirely new things with each step, but just, spray sealing what you have down there to lock it down so that when you apply these other types of things over the top of it, it doesn't lift it right off the, off the surface. So, and it's just really simple to do. The workable fixatives, I just lay it down there and, it's pretty much ready to go, be used again. Like, I don't know, like 1 minute or something like that. And I, wait a couple minutes, but, in this case for me it was the Krylon workable fixatives. There's a lot of art fixatives down there. They're called fixatives with a V as in Victor, but the Krylon one for some reason they call it workable fixative, with an F. But it's it's basically the same thing. They're textural, light, fast drying sprays like that. But I don't know. I might have to do more of these types like this because I really like the look. It did, it added in a few extra steps though, but I think that's pretty dynamic like that. And we're not going to get that, with a white piece of paper or something like that, or I love printable vinyl sticker papers too, just in terms of what they can do in terms of using a lot of different media over them. But those ones, they're a little bit more muted than the, I don't know if I have some here, but they're a little bit more muted because they have that layer of, kind of emulsion or something like that that allows them to take inks. So you can see that right there, you know what I mean? I love this type of patterning, like I said, but getting like that in here, I don't know of any other way to do it than the cardstocks, the holographic cardstocks, okay, as opposed to holographic, printable vinyl or something like that, sticker paper, whatever, or the holographic cold laminate sticker paper. Maybe that'd be pretty cool if there was cold laminate sticker paper like the one that you got, Linda, when you got that one instead of the printable vinyl. If we could just stamp this type of thing out on a white piece of paper and then stick that, like a sticker, like if it had that type of patterning on here right over the top, that would be fast too, So anyway, different things to try out here. Yeah, as I'm going to put together, sometime over this weekend, I'll put together a really fast version of it. I'll do it, like in time lapse or something like that, so we can see this whole thing come together. I'm really curious to see it myself. come together, just really fast. Because I got to kind of look over the process that I did on here again. 'Cause it was completely kind of winging it here, so with a lot of it, so yeah. What's fun for me, again, it's seeing like, the imagery that I've used, 100 times or whatever, 200 times in the past look different too. So it's just fun to see things in a different, I don't know, whatever environment, context or something of that sort. Oh, one of the things too, so I'm looking at this, I was mentioning to you earlier, these trees in here being done by the white paint pen, but then also on the edge of the, see this little edge right here, this little shoreline right here in light, this white right here. So you can see I've brought that out with the white paint pen again, like right around in here. That's really key. So picking up those trunks in here with the white paint pen and then doing the same. And see, I've put it right into the image right here. So you'll be able to see that in the image, but you might not be able to see it after adding in a bunch of colors over the top of it. But just bring it back out, right here with the white paint pen or a gel pen or whatever you're using, okay? Just to really define that edge of the water. It's not just a straight line going out. It's broken up here a little bit, you know what I mean? Like here and there. So it's broken up right here. I don't have this, this one like snake-like, serpentine line. It gets broken up here and there, okay? But add that back in if you're ever using this one right here, and it'll really look nice and dimensional and vibrant, and it'll give you a nice separation between water and shore, or waterside things and their reflections down there. So see, you do that little white little trunk in there coming from that white line in there. So put that line in there first, and then that'll give you a guide, for adding those trunk reflections in the water. So do that, Andy. You got those stamps coming out to you. So remember that little tip right there, white tree trunks or something like that, white pen tree trunks and white pen line like that, and then vary it a little bit, do your your varied line like that with the trunks. So the trunks are like, that, okay, but then make it a little bit, lighter and darker in some of those areas, kind of like that right there, okay? If I can get it like that. You can do multiple strokes too like this, just kind of keep it going in one direction like that, and then taper it off. All right, so anyways, you get the minutia when you log into the Stampscapes Live right here as far as techniques go. Thanks so much for checking these out. If you sat in on multiple versions or incarnations of this, thanks again. And yeah, I don't know. Have that paper, have fun with it. There's a lot of different colors of it that come in the pack. I think the red came with it, like that, but see those ones right here? All the possibilities. It's almost like, I don't know if there's such thing as too much, of anything, but, this is like one pack. It's not really, this paper wasn't like expensive either, like some of the foils, but, I don't know. Like Linda and I were talking about, we need something to do with these papers. We got a pack of 60 pieces of red, just plain foil. We got to figure out, something to do with those ones. We're going to do like some, like vampire, scenes or something like that for, Halloween or something like that with all those, all that foil in there. So another option for you, get some spray sealant or something like that. If you don't have a spray fixative, you can just use your acrylic sealant. Okay, and the alcohol ink should stick to it. It doesn't stick to it as much. It might look a little bit different in this area down here, but I think you can just use a spray sealant too for your to lock down your layers in here, and that should work fine. But just test it out. It might, like I said, it might look a little bit different. It's a thicker application, but I did go in here with a triple thick over some of that yesterday too. So yeah. Thanks, Vintage Scrap Girl. Hope you're enjoying. I hope everyone's enjoying their stamps out there. Yeah. Experiment around. If anyone has any problems with their foils or trying some of these different techniques like that, send me a photograph of it. Take a picture on your phone, just to send it on over, email it to me, and I'll take a look. You know what I mean? It is a kind of a funky surface to work on. And again, when you start adding these little kind of like highlighting dots, it looks kind of out of place, but you have to add it in as a common textural element in the scenes, and it kind of comes out a little bit. But I'll take a look at your pieces, and you know what I mean? If you run into a roadblock or something like that, and just let me know, and I'll tell you where to tweak it, or what to use, or if something there was a media incompatibility or seemingly so. Let me know what you used on the piece, and I'll take a look at it, and we'll see if we can make an assessment and how to how to work that piece, and how to kind of bring it into focus a little bit more. All right, so yes, have a great weekend, have a great rest of evening, everyone, and happy stamping, happy stampscaping. Happy stamping. If I don't, if I'm not on in another live stream or something, some form of something on the channel for the next week, it means that we floated away with that hurricane flood. I don't know, that's nothing to joke about, or something like that with all the natural things going on. But yeah, I don't know. But something like the internet, can go out or something like that. I wouldn't be surprised if I lose the internet if we're expecting like almost 2 inches of rain, with like a, strong gusts or something like that. If I lose the internet on Sunday or Monday or something like that, I wouldn't be too terribly surprised. It's gone out before, without all that type of thing going on. So let's see what this looks like right here. Every time I hold this, I need to hold this up like this so it's not picking up my my lights in here. There we go. That's what it looks like. See those little stars up there? That's kind of fun. All right, folks. I can't stay. It's a good sign. I can't help keep gazing at this thing. It's kind of mesmerizing in some of these areas on here. I really like this paper. That. For me, it's extra fun, too. I like it extra, because I didn't know if it'd be usable at all, so that's, kind of the enjoyment of the piece, too, is just seeing how it, something that I wasn't sure about became, I think, usable and maybe for future, projects or something like that. All right. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Jeannie.